Yes, when you hear the music, you know what time it is. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Joy Reid Show. Big ups to everybody in the chat. Y'all were already in the chat so excited. You guys were excited for the show. I love it. You guys are so excited for what's coming because you know who's on the show today. But before we get to that, I want to thank everybody who's listening on Substack, on YouTube. If you're listening in the podcast world, we appreciate each and every one of you. I want to do a quick note for those who have bought merch. Don't forget to tag me at Joy and Reid on IG or on Joy Reid Official on TikTok, or you can tag the Joy Reid Show or Joy Reid Show on TikTok or Instagram. And if you do that, here is your incentive. Tag us, and we will put your fabulous face right here on this show. We're going to pop it up on screen using the miracle of technology so that people can see you and your fabulousness. But make sure you hashtag wearing joy if it's merch that you're wearing, or if it's like a little cup like this one here, something like that. Just make sure you tag us, tag TJRS. You can also put in if you are a Team TJRS member or if you're a reader, and we're gonna give you even some extra special love if that's the case. So we want to make sure that we give you guys some love because it's almost the holidays and giving is important. And we want to make sure that we're giving you guys your shine because you guys are beautiful. You're beautiful. It's true. We want to make sure that everybody can be seen. So I want to throw that in. Also want to let you guys know that on Friday after the show, this is for members only. This is for our Team TJRS members, for our readers who are paid members over at the Substack location. We're going to do one of our patented You and I Sit and Talk. We're going to do a live group chat. We're going to jump in the group chat. Y'all can ask me anything. We can kiki. We just going to do a little kiki with the members. So if you are a member, make sure you join us after Friday's show. That is when that kiki is going to happen. So I think I've taken care of all the business. Let's get to some news. I love when we can do good news. Good news on today. The good news. We're bringing you the good news. The good news is that in the city of Miami, they call it Miami if they're really from the South. That's how you know if somebody is a transplant or a real Floridian, because the Floridians call it Miami. In Miami, a Democrat has won the race for Miami mayor. Now, this may seem like not huge news because people tend to think of South Florida as like the liberal part of Florida, but no. Miami has not had a Democratic mayor for like decades. And it has not had a non-Latino or a Latino mayor since the 90s. So this is actually pretty huge. They call her La Gringa. La Gringa has won the race. Her name is Eileen Higgins. Eileen Higgins will be the next mayor of Miami. She's the first non-Hispanic Democratic mayor since like 1990. It's a huge deal. It's a huge flip. Donald Trump went all in for her opponent, trying to get him to win. He conceded the race like 30 minutes after polls closed. It literally took almost no time at all. She already is a state representative representing a district that leans pretty conservative, that includes her, what she represents now includes Little Havana. La Gringa, who represents Little Havana. She won the race. And you know what her race was run on? Affordability. She ran on affordability. Emilio Gonzalez was her opponent, and Trump went all in backing this guy, and that guy lost. That's a huge deal, and it's a huge sign. And because she did it on affordability, note that Miami is one of the most expensive cities in the United States right now. The cost of living there shot up after COVID because so many Northerners, especially New Yorkers, swooped down and moved into South Florida so that they could ride out the pandemic in the warm weather in a state that did not require masks or vaxxing. The anti-mask people came flooding in, made Miami blood red. It was already conservative Cuban, but it went red. And Trump actually won it in the last election. That's unusual because usually Miami-Dade County writ large is pretty blue. But Miami, it's like a little right-wing city, inside of Miami-Dade County. But she's going to be the mayor, 61 years old. We're going to try to get her on the show. Eileen Higgins is going to be your next mayor of the city of Miami. So that's actually huge news. More good news for Democrats and more signs that Trump's claiming affordability is a hoax is a problem. and his skyrocketing cost of living under him, cost of gas, cost of everything, cost of utilities going through the roof, the tariffs killing people. He's now planning a bailout for farmers, meaning he's going to take our own money and give it back to farmers, money they also paid in tariffs. He's going to circulate it back to them like a Ponzi scheme. He's doing that because he's panicking. Let's now go to Georgia, the state of Georgia, another state in the South. A Democrat has flipped a Northeast Georgia state house seat that Republicans were holding. Democrats gained a Northeast Georgia House seat during an off-year special election on Tuesday in the latest sign of their growing momentum in the state. This is from the Georgia Recorder. Eric Geider, a tech executive and small business owner, took the lead in the Athens area district with 50.85% of the vote, according to the unofficial tallies. He wins the race against Republican Mac Dutch Guest the Fourth. So he has flipped that seat. So we're seeing seats flipping in red parts of the South because Trump is so unpopular and his policies are so unpopular. So that's interesting, right? So that's more good news. And Trump definitely appears to be crashing out in this moment. Like he already wasn't well, and his mentals weren't super stable. His cognitives aren't stable. The cankles, the patches, he's just not stable. He's snapping at everybody. And he's also being held to account, finally, belatedly, by some members of the press. Let's listen to an interview that he did with Politico, in which he is asked about, among other things, whether he wants to go to war with Venezuela, whether he is going to threaten more countries with, invasion, which he's technically doing. He's basically saying every country is next. But listen to this answer that he gave when he was asked whether it is hypocritical to talk about going to literal war over drugs coming out of Venezuela when he pardoned the former president of Honduras who was dealing drugs. Take a listen.
You pardoned former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez and let him out of prison, even though he was convicted in a massive international drug trafficking scheme. How is that zero tolerance on drug trafficking?
Well, I don't know him, and I know very little about him, other than people said it was like a Obama-Biden type setup, where he was set up. He was the president of the country. The country deals in drugs, like probably you could say that about every country. And because he was the president, they gave him like 45 years in prison. And there are many people fighting for Honduras, very good people that I know, and they think he was treated horribly, and they asked me to do it, and I said, I'll do it.
Do you think that could send the wrong message to drug dealers?
No, I don't think so. Look, I think, when you weaponize government, they've weaponized their government just like they did over here. I'm one of the people that survived, but they weaponized the government. We had the most weaponized government. Our election was rigged. They went after me. I was impeached twice. I was indicted. They indicted me. I came out good. Here we are in the White House. Things are looking nice, but they were vicious, and they are vicious. They're sick people.
So there's a few things about that. This is Dasha Burns doing this interview for Politico. I'm going to give her credit. Throughout the interview, she presses Trump on whether he's going to go to war with Venezuela, and he crashes out and he's like, why would I tell you? You're from fake news Politico that Obama had to keep open. Duh. And she didn't back down on that. I don't like the idea that journalists, including Dasha, and I like Dasha, she's a good reporter, are kind of normalizing the idea that there's like a war going on when there really isn't. But she asked a really smart question, like, how do you say you're going to war against drug dealers when you let go a major drug dealer who was the president of Honduras? And he says, well, that was a setup by Biden. So, okay, you're saying that we have to go to war with Maduro because Maduro is providing drugs to Americans, that it's killing Americans. But when the Honduran president is confirmed by a court of law to have been doing exactly that, he can be let go and pardoned because he was prosecuted by Biden, and you don't like Biden, so his drug dealing is excused. That is fake news. But the current president of Venezuela was a terrible guy. Let's just be clear. Maduro is a horrible dictator. Like, he's abusing his own people. Not our job to change that regime, but he's not a good guy. But there's no evidence that he is fomenting drug dealing into the United States. Fentanyl is not made in Venezuela. It doesn't come from Venezuela. And as we said on our last show, the ship that they bombed on September 2nd, even if it had drugs on it, was not headed to the United States. It was literally headed in the other direction, south, not north toward the United States. So it wasn't even headed toward us. So there's literally no justification for us to be bombing their ships, no justification for them to do anything. By the way, Donald Trump has also confirmed that the U.S. detained an oil rig, a Venezuelan oil ship. And his answer to, well, what are we going to do with the oil on the ship? He's like, well, I guess we'll just keep it. We're going to keep it? So we're pirates now? Total inconsistency. If there's a president who he doesn't like or who doesn't like him, who's not nice to him, that's dealing drugs, they go to war with them. He's now threatening the president of Colombia. Also, he's next, he says. He's next. He's going to also go to war with him. So we're going to go to war with every country we think has drugs coming out of it, except the ones who like Trump and who pay Trump's friends and who are nice to Trump. In that case, or if Biden prosecuted them, they can deal drugs. Okay, we got it, Trump. So he's clearly crashing out in every conceivable way, not just in terms of who he's threatening to go to war with, but also in the, well, off camera, in a hot mic moment, over the fact that he's trying to appoint these prosecutors illegally. He just puts them in office, people who were his former lawyers, like Alina Habba. He puts them in, and they're not legally appointed, and then he gets them to indict people he doesn't like the Attorney General of New York, Letitia James. And then those indictments fall apart because the whole thing is a scam. It's just Trump is mad at these people. He's mad at James Comey. He's mad at these people. And then the prosecutor gets bumped by a real court because they're like, you're not legally appointed. So I want you guys to listen to Trump completely crash out on a hot mic moment where he's like, hey, I'm losing. Here he is.
You know I cannot appoint anybody. Huh? I can't appoint anybody. Everybody I've appointed, their time is expired. And then they're in default. And then we're losing wages.
Their time is expired. I can't appoint anybody. Every time I appoint somebody, their time is expired and I can't appoint them. What the hell? What the hell-iance? I can't do anything. What I think is important about that clip is that it is a sign that Trump actually knows that his power is not unlimited, which is why we should not be treating him like his power is unlimited, which is why journalists should not be treating him like he's omnipotent. Even he knows he's not. Even with his dementia-addled brain, he knows he's not omnipotent. He knows he can't get away with doing everything. And then off camera, he will admit it and crash out about it. And, you know, when Trump starts crashing out, when he starts getting mad, you know where he's going to go. He goes racist and he goes misogynist. Now, to set up this next clip that I'm going to play for you of Trump crashing out, because he's starting to feel the limits of his bucket list adventure that he's having. As we said last time, he's being treated like, you know, he's getting to do all of his bucket list, and he's being handed his whole bucket list to be an authoritarian, to be a king, to wage war against all of Latin America, to take everyone's oil, to seize control of it, to be an imperialist, to create an American empire and seize Canada and seize Mexico, seize the Panama Canal, to seize and take and do whatever he wants and get rich in crypto. His son just got some $600 million deal. They're all getting like deals everywhere, all over the world. They're all being bought off. All of them. Jared Kushner, everybody's being bought off. And he's enjoying this life, except when he gets asked a question about it. So Rachel Scott, who is a really great reporter from ABC, who, by the way, is the same journalist, the same reporter he clashed with at ABJ. Remember that? Where he's like, I've never been asked such a rude question. You're so rude. Because she asked him legitimate questions about his attacks on Black people. And he crashed out over it. Well, here he is crashing out at Rachel Scott again. Here it is.
Are you admitting to releasing the full video?
Didn't I just tell you that?
You said that it was
You're
up
the
to
most
Secretary Hicks.
obnoxious reporter in the whole place. Let me just tell you, you are an obnoxious, a terrible reporter. And it's always the same thing with you. I told you, whatever Pete Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
And that is about the Venezuelan boat strikes. So he's annoyed that he's not able to wage an undeclared war against Venezuela without pushback. And when a journalist asks him a legitimate question, are we going to get to see the video of that second in that double tap boat strike from September 2nd? That is probably a war crime that they've shown to a select number of senators, does the public ever get to see that so that we can judge for ourselves whether Pete Hegseth ordered a member of the United States military to commit a war crime? Because we're not going to blame the admiral. Sorry. I know Pete Hegseth would like for us to blame the admiral, but we're not. We know that it's Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump because Donald Trump tweeted, on my orders, we attacked this boat. He tweeted on September 2nd. Pete Hegseth said on Fox, bragging, I watched the whole thing before he took that back because I didn't see any of it. They're all trying to throw under the bus the admiral. I would love to interview the admiral who quit, Halsey. If Halsey's around, if somebody knows him, please have him call me because I want to interview him. Because he knew the war was illegal. That seems to be why he quit. So we now have an undeclared war where we've detained an oil tanker where Trump is now going to be like a pirate and seize the oil. They're not releasing the video, the second piece of the video. They were happy to release the first part because they used it as propaganda, but we want to see all of it because we're not doing another Iraq where we get sleepwalked by the media complicitly into a war for oil, where American troops have to die so that Donald Trump's friends can get even richer with oil money, so that Donald Trump's friends can get unearned wealth from oil. We're not doing that. And Donald Trump, I think, is starting to understand, even through his dementia-riddled mind, that he does not have unlimited power. And I, too, have the same question that the chat has, that Lavelia Hyder has in the chat. I have the same question. I get, and I have to let you guys in on the inside scoop about the journalists that are doing the White House coverage. They know they would probably get fired if they were to say, Mr. President, you don't have a right to talk to me that way. Just answer my question. Mr. President, that is incredibly rude. Why don't you just answer my question? Or Mr. President, you know what? Shut the fuck up. Like, I would love if they said that. They'd get fired immediately. They know that. They are being put out there to be abused because the main interest of these media companies is access to the president. And getting the chance to ask that question is their job. And then it's their job to take the abuse that follows, particularly if they're a woman. Dasha Burns, I didn't see the full interview to see if she got abused at some point in that interview, but he did crash out and say, I don't trust Politico, it's fake news. But they take this abuse, and it's more Black women that get the abuse, if you will notice. But it's white women and Black women. It's every woman. And what they could do, I'm going to throw an idea out for what these journalists could do. Back each other up. They're not going to not go. Lev Parnas had the idea of just don't turn up to his press conferences. They're not going to do that. Their job is to get content from the president. They know that it's a nasty symbiotic relationship. But the next person, the people standing behind the journalist who's getting abused, couldn't you say, Mr. President, I think that was uncalled for. I too have the same question, and just all ask the same question. I would like to hear the answer to my colleague's question without the insults, if you wouldn't mind. And I promise you, if a few of them did that, think back to the way Barbara Walters used to interview Trump. She was very aggressive with him. She was very aggressive. Think back to the way the Axios guy, not that long ago, interviewed Trump. You have to be aggressive with him. You cannot allow him to abuse you because he'll just keep walking all over you because he's a bully. He's an inherent, nasty bully. Put me in, coach. Let me interview him. Come on. I'll do it. But you're not going to call me stupid. I don't care who you are, what job you have. You're an employee of the American people. But I think that they need to stand together and re-ask the same questions and ask for an answer without the insults. Barbara would have done that. Barbara would have said, come on, Mr. President, there's no reason to insult me. Just answer my question. You can say it in a way that isn't rude, but they should say it. It would help everybody if they did it. When we come back after a few minutes, in just a moment, we're going to talk to somebody who knows how to stand up to bullies, who understands how to stand up to a bully, and who has experience standing up to bullies. Because the person we're going to talk to shortly has had to deal with some of the worst, Marjorie Taylor Greene among them, and Donald Trump, who spends a lot of time abusing Black women, but also abusing her in particular. But before we get to that, I know that we are heading close to the holidays. Everybody's thinking about Christmas. It is the thing we're all thinking about, or the holidays, or whatever you celebrate, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, all of it. I mean, even Hanukkah, they're like, I need a Christmas gift too. Everybody's getting gifts. And we're being really careful about where we're spending our money and how we're spending our money and who we're willing to give our money to. Companies that do good and that stand for good are where I personally want to send my money, but also things that are affordable and also that are good value. Well, let me tell you about Quince. I recently got a chance to try on one of their cashmere sweaters, which are super snuggly, super luxe. They feel super luxurious, but they feel like a $200 sweater, but they're like a $50 sweater. They're really amazing. And Quince is a company that actually cares. They are a good company. They're not one of the bad guys. They're one of the good guys. We love that. And if you want to give, like this year, one of the things we're doing is we're saying we're not going to spend a whole bunch of money on Christmas. We're going to give love and we're going to give affordable gifts, gifts that are of a reasonable cost. Well, at Quince, you can get reasonably cost, luxurious, beautiful items. They're going to feel great, look great, and you're going to feel good about shopping with them. So right now, they are doing something really special just for the reader, just for you guys. If you go to their website and go to quince.com/joyreid, quince.com/joyreid, you can get free shipping on your order and 365-day return. So free shipping, no cost for shipping because we know shipping can cost a lot, and also 365-day returns. Return it anytime if you're not happy. So go to quince.com/joyreid to take advantage of this offer for the readers. Thank you all very much for tuning in and listening to that. So back to this politician, this particular politician who lots of people love because of her ability to stand up to Donald Trump, which I think is actually a premium as we're looking toward the 2026 elections. On the flip side of that, there's a lot of doubt among Democrats, even with all the wins that I just told you in Miami, in a formerly red Miami, in Georgia, in a formerly red seat. The fact that Democrats almost flipped Tennessee 7. Afton Bain came very close. I mean, she took a 27-point lead that Trump had in that district and cut it down to like 7, scared the hell out of Republicans, made them spend millions of dollars. There's a lot of doubt that still remains among Democrats that a Democrat can win in the South, that Democrats can actually win these Southern races. So one of the themes that I really want to hit on tonight is thinking a little bigger and broader about what it takes to win, particularly in the South. And Texas, it's the deep South, right? Former slave South. Because what you're starting to see is as Trump starts to crash out and as he starts to realize the limits of his power, Republicans are also starting to realize the limits of his power. It's why they defied him and voted to release the Epstein files. And Democrats are starting to realize the limits of his power, even in red districts, which is why some of them are starting to run for office, including the person who made this video. Jason, please roll the clip.
How about this new one they have, their new star, Crockett? How about her? She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble.
But you have this woman, Crockett. She's a very low IQ person.
I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. Crockett. Oh, man. She's a very low IQ person.
Somebody said the other day she's one of the leaders of the party. I said, you got to be kidding.
Now they're going to rely on Crockett. Crockett's going to bring them back.
The question of whether Jasmine Crockett can actually win the race in Texas is a live item. And I think it's going to become one of the big questions for 2026. Because there are a few narratives that are going around about this entrance into the race. First of all, Jasmine Crockett is not the only person in the race. We're going to talk a little bit about the fact that she does have an opponent. She's running in a state that has repeatedly elected politicians statewide who everyone claims not to even like, Ted Cruz. And a state where Beto O'Rourke excited the entire country in 2018 only to narrowly lose. Where a former football player followed him, Colin Allred, in 2024. And people thought, well, he might be built to win in a state like Texas. He's going to excite conservatives because he's an athlete. He's Black, so maybe he'll give them some Obama vibes, even though he doesn't really have the Obama charisma. Maybe he can win. And he lost bigger than Beto lost. And he was to the right of Beto. He was kind of trying to be a centrist candidate, and that didn't happen either. It's a state that has the largest numerical number of Black people in the country, 4 million African Americans. but the turnout doesn't match the turnout in states with fewer African Americans. And it hasn't been dispositive in being able to elect a Democrat statewide. You think about a state like California, where only 9% of the population is Black, and they elected Kamala Harris, not just Black, but a woman, to be both their attorney general statewide race and also their senator. You think of New York, which is percentage-wise less Black than Texas, able to elect Letitia James as their attorney general. So there are all these questions about whether there's something inherently wrong with Texas that it cannot be flipped. It's also a state with technically an Hispanic majority. There are more Latinos in the state of Texas than white Texans. And yet the state doesn't vote like California, which is equally Latino to Texas. These are the two states that have already reached majority non-white status. Texas and California have already reached that place where all of America is eventually going to reach. They've already reached it. And yet it has not resulted in a victory for Democrats statewide like it has in New York and California. So there's that question as well. And the Latino vote in the state of Texas has tended to be very Republican leaning, even though that seems like it would be against their interest because Republicans are so anti-immigration and so anti-brown, as well as being anti-Black. So there are just lots and lots and lots of questions. There's also the question that's been raised as to whether Republicans really want Jasmine Crockett to run, whether it's they that are pushing her to run because they think she'll be easier to beat. And looking on the Republican side, the candidates in the race, and this is for John Cornyn's seat. John Cornyn has been in office since 2002, like he's been there forever and ever and ever. He is a long-running candidate. He's 73 years old. There's a couple of people who've thrown into the primary against him. One of them is Ken Paxton, who is the state attorney general, who has lots of ethical issues, lots of issues with ethics. He was impeached by his own party and survived that impeachment vote, just like Trump survived an impeachment vote by Democrats. He survived Republicans' attempt to impeach and remove him. And he had a scandalous, like marital scandal, totally scandalous figure, but he could still easily win the primary against Cornyn because Cornyn is seen as not MAGA enough. Paxton is more MAGA than Cornyn. So there are all these factors that we have to factor in when we're talking about Texas. But the demographics are really kind of the big story. We went through a lot of conversation on this show about the gerrymandering of Texas, right? Which was done to reduce the relatively large number of Black members of Congress from 4 to 2. In a southern state, having 4 Black members of Congress, Florida had 3, they had 4. That's actually a lot because it's just 4 million people. It's a big state. But the gerrymandering attempt was to reduce that 4 to 2 and also to dilute Hispanic electoral performance, to make the Latino vote, if it did not continue to trend toward Republicans, to make it less impactful. So there was a lot that's been done. Harris County, where Houston is, which is the largest county, Harris and Dallas County, right? Those are the big counties where all the liberals live. If you look at a Texas map during election time, the blue part is concentrated in these big cities, not in the rural part that are very red, and sort of a lot of the state is super red. But the Texas government that's been run by Republicans for 40 years, since Ann Richards was governor, they've been doing everything possible to Project 2025 Texas into being a permanent red state. And they've been very effective at it. There is very low turnout among Latino voters. Maria Teresa Kumar and Voto Latino, they've been at this for a long time. The Castro brothers have been throwing everything at it. Both of them elected officials, Texas natives, they are like 7th generation Texans or something. Lots of people have been throwing a lot at Texas to try to make it purple like Georgia. And it's been ineffective up to now. And the question is, why has it been ineffective? Has it been not the right combination of investment and charisma? Have they just not had the right candidates? Beto seemed like the right candidate at the time. He definitely captured the imagination of the country nationwide. But then in Texas, he had some challenges in terms of getting elected. And it didn't happen. And the question then is why? He did attract a lot of opposition because he was very, 10 toes down on gun reform. And that hurt him. I think even hurt him among Latinos, even though he speaks fluent Spanish. So he, has a way of communicating even in South Texas. But he came very close. And I think one of the things people have to realize is that Texas is not a state that is turning in monster margins for Republicans. It's a state that's turning in minor margins for Republicans for the most part. It's not been an over-the-top Republican state. It's been a very close Republican state. Jason, can we put up B3? Can we throw up B3 if you don't mind? I just want to show you guys the margins before we get to our very special guest. In 2018, Beto O'Rourke, 2019, I'm getting the year wrong, 2019. Ted Cruz beat Beto O'Rourke by less than 2 percentage points. Beto O'Rourke got 4,045,632 votes. We've done this before, but I just want to do it again, just so you guys can see it. That is a fraction of a loss, 48.3% to 50.9%. That's less than 2%. Ted Cruz barely snuck over 50%. He got 4.26. So it's 4.0 to 4.3. That's 0.3. That's not a lot. Neil Dykeman, who was the third place winner, got half of the margin. You see what I mean? Like it was super close. So the state is not a blowout state. And if you look at the way that map looks, the blue part at the bottom, even though it looks like a smaller number, I mean, it is a smaller number of districts. It doesn't look like it is small, but those districts are packed with more humans. There are more people in those blue districts than in those red rural districts. They just have fewer people. They have more cows, more cornfields, less people, but they get the same amount of representation, right? But the blue districts are full of humans. They're just full of people. And if you go down to the bottom, you'll see that in Harris County, which is where Houston is, Beto O'Rourke beat the pants off of Ted Cruz. He beat him 700,000 to 498,000. In Dallas, it was 481 to 240. And in Tarrant County, he also won. So he won the 3 blue counties, but he lost so much of the rest. That's why he didn't win. I believe our special guest is ready to join us now. Do we have her? Okay. We're going to give her a few minutes. Okay. Yeah. Ron is telling me that she should be on, but we'll just wait until she's ready to come on and we'll wait and bring her on. So that means I have time to show you guys one more map if we could. Let's look at B4. This is the Ted Cruz versus Colin Allred race. Now, Colin Allred was going to try to do this again. He was going to try to do a rematch against, well, this time, not Ted Cruz, but John Cornyn. He was going to try to run again. He got more numerical votes. He got over 5 million votes, but he actually lost by more. The margin was bigger. He lost by 900,000 some odd votes. So he actually did worse, even though he got more votes, if that makes sense. But this was also a presidential election year, so more people voted, period. So if you think about it, Colin Allred, who is more conservative than Beto O'Rourke, actually did worse. All right, joining us now, I do believe, is the great Jasmine Crockett, who it represents the wonderful 30th district in the great state of Texas. And she running for Senate. We played your video a little earlier. The chat was on fire when they saw it, Soror. They're very excited for you. But I've been going through the numbers because I feel like the minute you announced, the first thing I got were lots of texts full of liberal dread. They were like, no way she can win this. So tell us, how do you win it?
I'm so happy that you've been going over the numbers because it seems like everybody think I'm just out here in the wind. Like it doesn't make sense. There is no reason. In fact, let me make sure that there are some numbers before all of the lies start to hit the internet, because Lord knows that they are trolling the hell out of me right now. Yeah. So number one, before anybody says it's about money, being in the House and being in the Senate pays the exact same amount of money. So I just want to make sure we put that out there. Nothing changes about what I take home. In addition to that, and that's publicly available, how much we make, which is like 174. I am just completely honest about all numbers. But right now I represent 766,000 people. In the US Senate for Texas, I would represent 30 million people. So one person, but doing a lot bigger job. So you've got those numbers. I didn't hear, so I'm assuming you went through the numbers from Beto O'Rourke.
I did.
As well. And that is the race that most closely resembles this race. That was also a midterm year as it relates to Donald Trump and his policies. And what we saw, okay, so number one, we're seeing that this is showing maybe close to 9 million votes. Right now in the state of Texas, we have almost 19 million registered voters, okay? So for everyone saying, how do you get the Trump voter? We got 19 million people that are already registered. This is before all of the voter registration drives and everything. We have 19 million that are registered. We also know that Texas has more African Americans than any other state, coming in at almost 3 million African Americans in the state. Okay. So when you're talking about a race where there may be 9 million people that vote in the general election, and you're talking about the numbers, Beto O'Rourke got maybe about 65% of the Latinos and maybe right at 90% of African Americans. So the key is to drive that up in a state where 61% of the people are people of color. That's it. This ain't Iowa, y'all. It's not Iowa. And I have analyzed the trends. And so what we were seeing, not only in third-party polls, but in our internal polling, is that I poll the best with Latinos, as well as African Americans, as well as those who don't have degrees. I poll the best with them. You know who Democrats have been losing for a very long time? Every single one of those groups I just named. So I just want to be clear. And I want to say that if these amazing people had it figured out, I don't know why we ain't got it done in the last 30 years. I mean, so we can continue to do the same thing that we've done, expecting a different result, or we can at least try to do something different. And I am doing it based on numbers and data. So now with that being said, and then we can get into whatever else you want to talk about. What people don't understand is that if you've ever been in a race and you've been the front runner, you get attacked, right? So think about the presidential stage, right? Like when you look across that presidential stage, I remember when Joe Biden specifically actually became the front runner to go up against Trump. Next thing you know, everybody was attacking Joe Biden, right? Everybody. We saw Madam VP coming after Joe. Like everybody was on Joe. Wasn't nobody worried about nobody else, right? I am getting it from the left and the right. And people are like, oh, well, just tell us. And I'm like, no, because I don't want Republicans fundraising off of me, number one, by saying, oh, no, we're potentially going to lose the state to Jasmine. So I'm just like, no, keep laughing to save face, okay, and pretending as if you don't know what I know. Because if that was the case, y'all would make it clear and you would release your polling that shows that I have these terrible favorabilities, which I don't, which is why like nonstop 24/7, all they're doing is like, let me put up negativity, because they're trying to drive my favorability numbers down. And so considering how well I'm known, my name ID is right up there statistically tied with the sitting senator. Yet I have a higher favorability than he does in every single poll. And so, favorabilities only do so many things, but the reality is that he's been elected for almost 30 years and I'm still better with the favorabilities, right? So they're really trying to drive up the negatives in this moment, and they are trying to divide and distract us. And I refuse to do it because people's lives are on the line. So, we're going to continue to talk about affordability because they don't want to. So anybody that's not talking about how they're going to better your life, whether it's housing, whether it's jobs, as people are comparing this moment to possibly the Great Depression, as we've lost 1.1 million jobs in this country, or if people want to start to talk about whether or not they can buy a home. And right now this administration is like, oh, we're going to give you this 50-year home loan that means that you're going to pay, I don't know how much money for that home by the time you get done. Or if you want to talk about the farmers and ranchers in my state, because we do agriculture, who are losing their farms. Like, we can talk about real things, or we can talk about the fact that these tax subsidies for the Affordable Care Act are about to expire, or we can talk about the fact that this entire country is currently on fire because this man, this rogue criminal that is sitting in the White House, who gets a pass for everything that he does, he's the one that put us in this mess, and he's the one that decided, I can't win fair and square, so I'm going to cheat and I'm going to play with these lines. And the Supreme Court allowed him to do it. And the only body that has oversight over the Supreme Court is the United States Senate. So ultimately, when it comes down to whether or not they have to finally have some ethics about themselves, because they are the only justices in this country that do not have any ethical guidelines, or whether it is literally that we just are bringing them in and we are going to like have a little conversation with the justices, that comes from only the Senate. Or when we're talking about confirming justices, if we're going to expand the court, or if we're talking about whether or not some of these bad actors that are in this administration, if they're going to potentially be held accountable, you got to have the votes in the Senate. Like, we have to change the Senate map. And frankly, I am tired of people believing, like I went back to the Obama moments when in my speech, because I thought about the fact that his slogan was, yes, we can. Because everybody said what he couldn't do. Everybody said what we couldn't do. No, 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 no. Right. And so it's like, all right, even the people on our side are like, now you ain't got no data. You ain't got no nothing. You just operating on feelings. And it's like, well, it can't be a Black woman. You know, we've seen things like people saying, well, I mean, we saw what happened to Kamala.
Well, I mean, that is true. And I think that is the point, that what I've heard back from people who, you know, are big fans of yours, who really love you. That is what they say. They say, yeah, Beto came close, but he's a white man. You know, he's a white man who can speak Spanish, and you're a Black woman. And for a lot of people, they're like, that's what the difference is, that they've seen what happened with Stacey Abrams. They've seen what happened with Kamala Harris. And that question of whether a Black woman can get elected statewide, it's a real question. It's something that's really not that easy to do. Very small number of Black women have done it. So what is your answer to that? That the difference between you and Beto is that you're a Black woman. And so if he couldn't do it, it's going to be even harder for you.
Yeah, I think that's how they want us to think. I don't believe that my ancestors want me to think on that level. I mean, think about what it was when Shirley became the first. She didn't see it, but she did it. It's again why I brought up Barack Obama, because people told him, oh, that's a funny middle name. Oh my gosh, it's Hussein. That's a terrorist name. Like, oh my God, you're Black. Oh my God, you just got to the Senate. Oh my God, you're only 44. Everybody had every reason as to why he couldn't do it, but he did. And so I want to be clear about this, in that I can do this. So let me tell you the difference between myself and Beto, besides the fact that he's Anglo. Number one, when you look at those exit polls of the election, unfortunately, when it comes to Texas, the Democratic nominee is not really getting any more than, say, 33% of the Anglo vote. The win for us is with people of color in a state that is dominated by people of color. That is the win. And so I do best with those people. But more importantly, let me back it up a little bit. If you think back to Beto's initial run, when he first got into the race, nobody knew who Beto was. Nobody had heard of Beto, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like we've got this guy and he's going live and he's in the van and he's traveling the state and he's hitting all 254 counties, and we're there riding along with him and we're watching and we're getting excited, and we built that up. But the thing is, it took Beto a while to get there, and it took a lot of money to get his name ID there. We are walking in for the first time that I am aware of, at least in my lifetime, with a candidate that has the name ID. So what does that mean? That means that your money is used so much more efficiently when you donate, which you can go to JasmineForUs.com to donate. My team will be appreciative that I did that, because what we're going to do is we're going to get right to the people. A lot of people have to go through, introduce themselves, talk about what it is that they're going to do, talk about how it is that they are. Like, people have been watching me for years, and so they know who I am. And so as far as building the rapport, my rapport will be I'll need to build my rapport and build support amongst people that maybe haven't been paying attention to politics. And frankly, we've been able to go into so many of those spaces as well to communicate to people, because people have told me, they're like, my such and such don't do politics, but they know who you are, right? And so I think that that is what makes me uniquely situated to do it differently in Texas. And the final point that I'll say is that because Beto, when he came in, he was not known like that. I have busted my butt around this country for the team, okay? Busted my butt. Whether it was the November 4th elections, going to Pennsylvania for the retention, whether it was Virginia for Abigail Spanberger, whether it was California for Prop 50, or whether we go back to the Senate race in Florida this last cycle, or whether we're talking about all the states that I went to, because I went to all of them on behalf of the vice president. So part of me making this decision was also me picking up the phone and calling people and saying, listen, if I do this, this is bigger than Texas. It's a huge state. It's a huge lift. We need help within the state, but we're going to need a few people on the outside. For everybody that's like, what do we do now? You know, I'm trying to get to it, the midterms. Well, listen, we have the earliest primary. It's Texas and Arkansas. We will be on that first Tuesday in March. So everybody that's like looking for something to do, no matter where you are, we are trying to bring those people into this. And I am the only one that can do that, potentially, just because I have done so much around this country for so many people. I was talking to members on the floor about different things. And then later we had some other conversations, but long story short, even other members are going to organize their volunteers and get them involved in the campaign. This is a campaign for everybody, because this is about our democracy. We can flip the House, and we will flip the House no matter how bad they make these maps. We are going to flip the House. But what good is flipping the House if the only thing that we're doing is shine a light on all the bad that is being done? The only way that you don't know what's being done is if you're just not paying attention. Like, it is clear that they are criminals. It is clear that they have killed people. It is clear that they don't give a damn about the people that actually voted for them. All of this stuff is clear. But ultimately, how do you get some accountability? So let's pass 1 million bills out of the House. But if we don't have the numbers in the Senate, then those bills die. The reason we didn't get voting reform, even though they passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act and the Freedom to Vote Act, Freedom to Vote would have kept Elon from buying the election, and John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act would have kept them from mid-decade redistricting. All of this is costing us a lot of money and a lot of angst, because we still have to envision that we can change and do better, and that we deserve better. So I get it, and people were so scared, and I know that the fear is real. But at the end of the day, if I say that I'm going to be a public servant, then I have to do as much as I can to actually serve the people. And so, yes, this is a leap of faith. And yes, we have studied. And yes, we are going to work. But frankly, right now, what I need people to recognize is, number one, a Black man was told no, he couldn't. And he said, yes, we can. And he got it done. What I need people to recognize right now is that we never thought that we would live in a country where we would have a 34-count convicted felon. And here we are. So if we can have both of those things happen, things that I never saw happening in my lifetime, then I don't think that it's so far out of left field that a Black woman can win. The facts are the facts, the numbers are the numbers. And the next time somebody got something to say, tell them to show you real numbers, because they're not pulling out receipts.
I think that the chat is saying that was a mic drop, but I want you to keep that mic on, because I have a couple more questions for you. So you are facing, we now know that Colin Allred, who did lose, we did show both maps, he lost worse to Ted Cruz than Beto did. You know, he actually did worse, even though he got more votes, because as we explained, that was a presidential election year, just a different electorate. You are now going to be facing head-to-head, unless someone else gets it, James Tallarico, who's very popular with progressives because they see him as being able to sort of reasonably speak with white voters and conservative voters, and go on Fox, right? He's kind of become popular with a lot of liberals for that. Let me play what he said, because it also spoke to the fears that I think a lot of people have about the way people will treat you as a Black candidate. Here's B2, Jason, if you could. Okay. All right. He's going to pull it up. He actually did this as a video for his campaign. Jason, let me know when it's ready. Where I think for a lot of people, they're saying, the fact that he had to say this is because even he understands, not necessarily among Democrats, but just in general, what the tone of the conversation might be with a Black woman running statewide, given the fact that you're already under attack. And while Jason's pulling that video up, I want to also get your quick comments on the fact that Isosa Osa, who we both know, Onyx Impact, they did some data collection about you and your launch. And you, to your point, you have the highest name recognition of anybody that's in the race, and even I think more than Cornyn. Most people probably don't really know who John Cornyn is. And that the impact of your announcement was the highest, higher than anybody else's announcement, but also for better and for worse. So you got the biggest highs and you got the biggest attacks. You got both. You were impactful in both ways. Mm-hmm. And then there is this theme that's out there on the right, Mediaite, of course, that loves to report anything kind of negatively, reported that Republicans were pushing you to get in the race and were putting out phantom polling to lure you into the race because they thought you would be the easier candidate to beat. What do you make of that?
So first of all, I say that number one, they are not good at playing poker if that's the case. If that is your goal, is to get me to the general, then why would you hold it until I got into the primary and then not hold it until I made it through the primary? Instead, you're like, let's get her, right? You're like, let's get her, let's get her, let's get her, let's get her. You don't go attacking if you want me in the general, right? That's not what you do. But that's where we are. Yeah. In addition to that, unless they hired my pollster, and I'm gonna have a few issues with him, and I've known him for some years. Unless they hired him, I'm sorry, but that's not what we made our decisions based upon. And you brought up Colin Allred, and I will not. I won't go into what our actual conversation was or our conversations have been, but I mean, I'm running and that's all I got to say. But I'm just saying, like, you know, people have their own internal polls as well. Yeah. You know, someone sent me an article because there are people that are planting articles everywhere on both sides. And, you know, there's been a lot said about the fact that I am ahead in this primary. And so, you know, I will tell you, one of the things that I was dreading as I was like, oh, here's the numbers, here's this, here's that. And I'm talking to faith leaders. In fact, one of the faith leaders that I always relied upon as an advisor, he's my number 2 to my pastor, Bishop Reginald Jackson. He suddenly passed away in the middle of like kind of all of this. It was quite devastating to me. But nevertheless, in all of these conversations, we were, you know, back and forth about a lot of different things. But one of the concerns that I had was, can we keep the base unified? Because there were so many people, and there are so many, and I don't even know how many people it is, but there are people that are just like, it can't be a Black woman, and it comes from our own side.
Yeah. And I've heard that a lot too. Jason has it teed up. So here is the sound from James Tallarico. Take a listen.
Hey, Team Tallarico, I just wanted to hop on here and record a quick video for y'all. Lots of news in the race today. On behalf of all of us, I want to welcome Congresswoman Crockett into the Democratic primary race. I chose to run for the honor of being your next U.S. Senator because working people deserve someone who knows how to fight and knows how to win in Washington. We always knew this was going to be hard, and I am so proud of what we've built so far. We've shattered grassroots fundraising numbers. We've built an infrastructure of 10,000 volunteers, just like all of you, who are already putting in the work to win in November. I am so proud of the community and the culture we've built here at Team Tallarico. We have always maintained that we are pro our campaign, not anti anyone else's. We will make the case for why we are best positioned to win this race in November and take power back for working people. But we will always treat Congresswoman Crockett with the utmost respect. She is my colleague and she is a leader in our state. She deserves nothing less.
What do you expect this primary to be like? Lots of people hoping it will be positive. Yeah,
the fact that you have to say anything like that, I will tell you that I do appreciate, you know, the people that are supportive of me because they've not been ugly. I mean, and I think that if you are truly going to be a team player in this moment, we can't afford to be divided. It's a message that I send all the time. And primaries are for people to choose their preference. And I don't believe that we should minimize the voices of anyone. That is what the Supreme Court did to us. You know, we know that under this map, African-American voices are only 1/5 the voting strength of their Anglo Texans. And we know that our Latino voices are only 1/3. But when it comes to this US Senate race, they have a full voice. And I think that there has to be some sort of retribution for what they've decided to do, them attempting to eliminate our voices out of the process. You can't say that you are pro-life when you won't even allow people to pick people that will determine whether or not you can access healthcare. You don't want to do that. What y'all want is somebody that's just going to do whatever Donald Trump tells them to do instead of listening to their constituents. We have 30 million people that are being ignored right now in our state by our senator because he doesn't listen to them right now. He has decided that he only wants to listen to Donald Trump because he's seeking his endorsements. We don't need that, right? Like, we need people that are responsive to their constituents. And we also need people that can make sure that they are not only adding to the electorate, but helping the down ballot because they can bring that energy, right? And so while they're trying to take 5 seats from us, we want them to sit there and be like, well, wait a minute, we lost. We didn't get the 5 seats. There's a lot that the person at the top of the ticket can do to help the entire ticket. I got to plug my laptop though before it dies.
Oh, okay. Please plug your laptop in. While you're doing that, I'm going to see if Jason can tee up 2 more little elements here before we have to let Jasmine Crockett go. And these are B5 and B6, Jason, if you've got them. And this is about... Oh, okay. My audio's off. Nope, I did not mute myself. I am good. I'm still here. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, that I wanted to see if we could pull up 2 pieces of... It's stills, not audio. One of them is the Pew Research numbers about Latin American voters. And these are actually national numbers. They're not numbers specific to Texas, but it shows that Latinos, and just for the chat that you guys can see it, that Latino voters are souring on Donald Trump. And as you can see, Latino voters writ large do believe that Trump is not doing a good job. His numbers are bad all the way across the board, except, and if we go to the next slide there, Jason, the Latinos who voted for Trump, 80% of them still support him, which is actually kind of wild. 70% overall of Latinos disapprove of the way that Donald Trump is handling his job as president. 65% disapprove of the administration's approach to immigration. 61% say Trump's economic policies have made economic conditions worse, not better. Still, according to Pew Research, Latinos' views about Trump and his administration are sharply divided by how they voted in the 2024 election. Those who voted for Trump expressed strong support for the president and his policies, while those who voted for Kamala Harris hold deeply negative views. For example, 81% of Latino Trump voters approve of the president's job performance, though this share has declined from 93% at the start of his current term. When Jasmine Crockett comes back, I want to ask her about that. Oh, there she is. How do you flip Latino voters in a state where, I mean, nationwide, 55% of Latino men voted for Trump. Those numbers have dropped nationwide, but his people are still his people. And pulling out more Latino voters in Texas, getting them to come out, that doesn't necessarily mean they vote for the Democrat. They might vote for the Republican.
This is a very good point. So far in polling that we've seen, when it comes down to Texans and Latinos, we only have about 1/5 of them right now that are regretting their vote. But when you start to just talk about the issues, when you start to talk about the economy, when you start to talk about the fact that we've not raised the minimum wage, and there are people that still get paid the very minimum in Texas because we've not raised it on a state level or a federal level. When you start to talk about the access to healthcare, I mean, there's work that I did down in the Valley to get resources into one of the hospitals that's down there because we worked on this big deal The biggest thing that I actually did as a freshman was not going off on Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was just the most viral thing that I did. The biggest
It was the most fun thing you did as well, but go on.
but the biggest thing that I
BBBBBB is going to live forever. Bleach blonde, bad
forever
built,
because
butch
it's
body.
trademark, honey. But yes, the best thing that I did was actually get an ARPA H location into Texas. So ARPA H, if you have ever been to Atlanta and you think about the CDC and what they did, you know, everybody worked at the CDC after, you know, Atlanta got the CDC. So post-pandemic, we wanted to make sure that we could stay ahead of the next pandemic. So research, making sure that trials look like who we are in this country, that kind of stuff. So I actually worked in a bipartisan way. At the time, Kate Granger was the chair of appropriations. She and I worked together, and we were the only Republican state to get one of these locations. And this was during the Biden-Harris administration. And we got it into my district. And it wasn't just me and Kate, it was other Republicans that signed on trying to get this. And so we created this hub and spoke model. And so we had different spokes. And so if you understand like how we do research in this country, most of our research is actually done at our institutions. It's just that the federal government is like giving over money. So that's why it's such a big deal when we're like, yo, they cut research funding. It's not that we really got all these labs ourselves. We do have some for sure. But like we're paying, like we're giving money over to institutions. So this is also impacting everybody that's trying to send their child to a college, because that means there's less money that is flowing into their schools from the federal government. And so that means that it's more money out of your pocket if they're going to keep their lights on, right? But also there's a lot of hospitals. So when you think about the fact that doctors are training and doing their residencies at various hospitals, there's still like a lot of research and stuff that goes on. And so I've been down to the Valley, not only on official business, but I've been to the Valley to campaign on behalf of Beto and others. And so I know what issues they're going through, and I know what the healthcare looks like. I know that healthcare is actually a really big thing. And again, when we start to study kind of some of the things that are really plaguing different communities, I think talking about these things and recognizing that, frankly, some people want to put, you know, like, oh, let's put the Blacks over here and they got their own issues, and Latinos over here and they got their own issues. Honestly, we all got the same core issues, like, to be perfectly honest. And, you know, I think the racial profiling has picked up for the Latino community. But that's something that we share too. Like we've always had that as an issue as well. But now it doesn't matter your status. I mean, we are living in a show me your paper state, and it's been sanctioned by Trump's Supreme Court. Again, a lot of my issues go back to the Supreme Court. And it is the Senate, you know? So,
really quick, I'm gonna do very quick rapid fire because I know we have a little bit more time with you. Lots of progressives, really, it's important to them that the candidates they support not take AIPAC money. Are you declining AIPAC money in this?
Yes, I don't even know why we are having a conversation. You know, there used to be that they were like trolling online and they were like, oh, look at this, look at that. And then they were like, okay, well, never mind. And then they were like, oh, well, wait a minute. So she doing it for free. And it's like, actually, you know, I just want people to do this. I want people to be calm. When they feel like they're being gaslit, they probably are. Like, that's what I want people to do, right? So I know about the viral video that's going around that was clipped. Imagine that. I'm supposedly terrible for the Democrats. I'm supposedly terrible for the Republicans, but they decided to clip my video instead of playing the whole thing. They also decided to, and when clipping, so I'll just completely address it where it said, I said, I've supported all the aid package, supplemental packages or whatever. We had multiple packages, like the packages were for multiple places, right? So the vote in April, and you all can go and look at it. Y'all ain't got to trust random people on the internet that you ain't never met, and half of them are bots from other countries, okay? You don't have to do that, right? Like, let's not do that. Like, let's show that we can do our own research and know what we know. And so I will say that still is not going to satisfy certain people, because I did vote yes. I'm not going to say that, but let me make sure you understand.
And just to be clear, these supplementals are not just to send money to one country, that is sending
correct.
Yeah.
That is what I was about to say. So like, I mean, people still may be mad, right? But we were in a divided government at that time. The Republicans controlled the House, but we controlled the White House, and we also controlled the Senate. And so basically the Republicans kept putting forth bills. The first bill they put forth was a bill to defund the IRS and send money to Israel. You look it up. You put IRS and Israel if you want to. I voted no. You can look that up too. The next bill was a vote to just send money to Israel. You can look it up. I voted no. The last bill, the April bill that I specifically was asked about, that bill had money for Taiwan, which is important for a lot of reasons. It takes a lot for me to kind of go into all the diplomacy of it all for those that aren't necessarily following along with foreign affairs, but it was really important that we send money to Taiwan. There was also money for Haiti, who nobody wants to talk about, but okay. So there was money for Haiti. There was also money for Gaza in that bill. So yeah, there was also money for Iron Dome and other defense mechanisms for Israel. But when you aren't in control, you don't control what hits the floor. You can only control your vote. And so I did vote yes, because I thought that it was important that led by the Democrats, and I won't say what part of the Democratic faction, we were able to get something for other folk.
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, and I think people don't, I'm glad that you walked us through that, because I think trying to get people to understand how the process works, I think is so important, because when people are voting, they need to be fully informed about, you're voting to send this person there, but you too should understand some of the process. Exit question for you, Congresswoman. I did want to give you the opportunity to respond. Your colleague, Ilhan Omar, has now been called garbage. Donald Trump's latest is that she should be deported. And the reaction of the crowd when he called for her deportation was so insanely ugly. Jason, I don't know if we have that clip, but it's actually, the crowd in some ways to me was more almost shocking than Donald Trump himself. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity. This is B8. Jason, let me know when you have that ready. Because we're living in this moment.
That's when Minnesota.
Oh, here it is.
You know, that's called the great big Minnesota scam with one of the dumbest governors ever in history. I love this Ilhan Omar, whatever the hell her name is, with the little turban. I love her. She comes in, does nothing but bitch. She's always complaining. She comes from a country where, I mean, it's considered about the worst country in the world, right? They have no military, they have no nothing, they have no parliament. They don't know what the hell the word parliament means. They have nothing, they have no police. They police themselves. They kill each other all the time. I love it. She comes to our country, and she's always complaining about, the Constitution allows me to do this. We ought to get her the hell out. She married her brother in order to get in, right? She married her brother. Can you imagine if Donald Trump married his sister? Beautiful. She's a beautiful person. If I married my sister to get my citizenship, do you think I'd last for about 2 hours, or would it be something less than that? She married her brother to get in. Therefore, she's here illegally. She should get the hell out. Throw her the hell out. She does nothing but complain.
It was giving Klan rally. First of all, he's lying about Ilhan Omar. It's disgusting. I'm assuming that the attacks on you will be very similarly vicious. But I wanted to give you just your thoughts on that Klan rally moment.
I think you summarized it. It's really disappointing. And I feel like, we have to take these moments and have to be in defense of. So number one, thank you for illuminating how disgusting he is and how he's acting towards a sitting member of Congress who is a Black woman. I want us to look at these moments and say, what is it that I can do to support these people that are on the front lines of all the bullshit that is coming their way, only because they have the audacity to stand up and be who they are and make sure that they represent for us. You cannot leave us hanging out there by ourselves and allow them to talk noise, because you see what he did there. So the next thing you know, they'll be online, they'll start with the bots, they'll do all the things to continue to tear her down. And so understanding that, like, literally a number of us are risking our lives, and we think that it shouldn't be that way, but we sign up and we show up every single day, because if we don't, who will? And if we go and we run away and we get scared, then things will only get worse. So, you know, Ilhan and I actually talked today on the floor, and it was heartbreaking for me to hear her talk about the concern that she has for her son. And I told her that I can't imagine what it is to be you. She was talking about how they are going in and picking up all types of documented Somali people in her city. Y'all, this is real shit. Like we are the bad guys right now. Do y'all understand that? Like, we are the bad guys. We are the bad guys. And I say we because it's our government. It is time for us to just call a thing. And there can be no more of this, well, I'm going to be on the sidelines. That ain't got nothing to do with me. It don't affect me, until it does. When ICE decided to go into Chicago, they went into South Side of Chicago. If you know anything about the South Side, you know who on the South Side, they had little black babies hemmed up. Like, you can't sit here and say, this isn't my fight. Every single thing that you see that is against the Constitution, that is illegal, it is all of our fights. And I am so sick of the division. We could have had Kamala Harris if people had a yes, we can attitude, if people were not concerned about her laugh, if people weren't questioning whether or not she was black enough. And my point about that was, well, y'all have elected a bunch of white men anyway, so who cares if she black at all, right? We can't do this. Like let's not play these games. Every time somebody is calling out a distraction, you need to say it is what it is. It's a distraction. He was having a whole rally that supposedly was about affordability, which supposedly is a hoax. And he's talking about Ilhan. He don't want to talk about these policies. Don't let people play you.
Indeed. And, not for nothing, but he has said that he would have married his daughter if it was legal. Jasmine Crockett, just saying. Thank you so much for being here. Please, one more time, let people know how they can support you. Give your website one more time.
Visit JasmineForUs.com, and we are still Jasmine for Us on all social media platforms. I appreciate and love you, Sora.
Thank you so much, Sora. I appreciate you. Jasmine Crockett, everybody, running for the United States Senate. She said, if we had a yes, we can attitude, think of all the things that we could accomplish. And I think this is the challenge, right? And I really wanted to let her play that out in real time and really give her the time to express herself, because here's the challenge. Nobody that runs can win. Nobody, if you don't vote for them. And anybody that runs for office can win if you vote for them. And I understand the fear, the pessimism, because the history and the track record of this country is that this country really hates women as much as they hate black people. They really hate women. And then you put a black person and a woman together, and most of the time in America, it's like, hell no, until they are not hell no. And Kamala Harris was not even the first black woman who was United States Senator. It's always improbable. And California has technically actually very few black people. It's only 9% African American. So I think we have to kind of expand our vision. And I understand why people are extremely pessimistic about any race in which a black woman is trying, or a black man, because coming up in the show, we're also going to talk to Charles Booker, who is doing the same thing, running for office in a way that people are claiming isn't possible. But again, anything is possible if you believe. You can kind of do anything if you just believe in it. I'm going to jump ahead. And I think after that, we do need, Jason, a good laugh moment. So whenever you get ready, please let me know and tee up our friends from Cards Against Humanity, because I would love to show people that. Because sometimes you just need kind of a laugh. All right, you ready? Oh my God.
These nuts. If left untreated, this could lead to stealing an election,
Polyamory.
Dangerous lovemaking.
Cards Against Humanity. It is the fun game that you can play with your friends to have a laugh with them, show your comedic stylings, and while you're at it, maybe, you can win and you can wager. We love Cards Against Humanity. They say to us on here on the Joy Reid Show that they figure you're smart enough to figure out where they're at, but they just wanted to let you know that they're there. We actually love Cards Against Humanity. They've got new games like Cards Against Humanity Tales. They've got a game called Shit List. They've got a game called Party Mouth. All the games that you could possibly need in order to have a great time. But they said, look, you're smart enough to be watching the Joy Reid Show that they figure you can probably figure out where to find it. But you can still go to cardsagainsthumanity.com and get yourself a game and make your holiday fun. Thank you for your attention to this matter. All right, I got to talk to you guys real quick before we bring our guest on, because there's something that's happening at CBS. Do we have time for that, Jason? There's something that's happening right now at CBS News that I actually think is pretty alarming, that I want to talk to you guys about. I want to play you guys a clip. It's a little long. It's 4 minutes long. So I just want you guys to kind of have patience and listen to this, because I think it's actually important to listen to the whole thing. This is the appearance that Ta-Nehisi Coates made on CBS News. And just to set it up, I cut it down to like 4 minutes, but the entire video, all that you're missing is the introduction of Ta-Nehisi Coates by the African-American, the Black co-host. And his name is Nate Burleson. So he reads a short introduction to the book, and then you hear what you're going to hear right now. And then the only thing that I've also cut off on CBS Mornings is Gayle King kind of rapping out of the segment. But here was the meat of the segment. Play it, Jason, please.
Hashi, I want to dive into the Israel-Palestine section of the book. It's the largest section of the book. And I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much? Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with terror groups that want to eliminate it? Why not detail anything of the first and the second intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits? And is it because you just don't believe that Israel, in any condition, has a right to exist?
Well, I would say the perspective that you just outlined, there is no shortage of that perspective in American media. That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the ability to talk. I have asked repeatedly in my interviews whether there is a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. I've been a reporter for 20 years. The reporters of those who believe more sympathetically about Israel and its right to exist don't have a problem getting their voice out. But what I saw in Palestine, what I saw on the West Bank, what I saw in Haifa in Israel, what I saw in the South Hebron Hills, those were the stories that I have not heard. And those were the stories that I was most occupied with. I wrote a 260-page book. It is not a treatise on the entirety of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place, committing horrific acts on a daily basis. So I think the question is central and key. If Israel has a right to exist, and if your answer is no, then I guess the question becomes, why do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Why do 20 different Muslim countries have a right to exist?
My answer is that no country in this world establishes its ability to exist through rights. Countries establish their ability to exist through force, as America did. And so I think this question of right to Israel does exist. It's a fact. The question of its right is not a question that I would be faced with any other country.
but you write a book that delegitimizes the pillars of Israel. It seems like an effort to topple the whole building of it. So I come back to the question, and it's what I struggled with throughout this book. What is it that so particularly offends you about the existence of a Jewish state that is a Jewish safe place and not any of the other states out there?
There's nothing that offends me about a Jewish state. I am offended by the idea of states built on ethnocracy, no matter where they are.
Muslim included.
I would not want a state where any group of people laid down their citizenship rights based on ethnicity. The country of Israel is a state in which half the population exists on one tier of citizenship, and everybody else that's ruled by Israelis exists on another tier, including Palestinian Israeli citizens. The only people that exist on that first tier are Israeli Jews. Why do we support that? Why is that okay? I'm the child of Jim Crow. I'm the child of people that were born into a country where that was exactly the case, of American apartheid. I walk over there and I walk through the occupied territories and I walk down a street in Hebron. And a guy says to me, I can't walk down the street unless I profess my religion. I'm with another path. No. I want to. This is very, very important.
It is important. It is
extremely important.
Yeah, let me lay it down.
I'm working with the person that is guiding me is a Palestinian whose father, whose grandfather and grandmother was born in this town. And I have more freedom to walk than he does. He can't ride on certain roads. He can't get water in the same way that Israeli citizens who live less than a mile away from him can.
And why
is that okay?
Why is that? Why is there no agency in this book for the Palestinians? They exist in your narrative merely as victims of the Israelis, as though they were not offered peace at any juncture, as though they don't have a stake in this as well. What is their role in the lack of a Palestinian?
I have a very, 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 very moral compass about this. And again, perhaps it's because of my ancestry. Either apartheid is right or it's wrong. It's really, really simple. Either what I saw was right or it's wrong.
Whew. There's a lot to unpack there. I mean, why is there no agency for the Cherokee? They were offered treaties at all times by the Pilgrims who just wanted to have religious freedom in America. Why is there no agency for the Xhosa in South Africa who were offered peace by the Boers who God said could claim the land in South Africa? Why is there no agency? How can you say that, the people who are doing the genocide, how can you criticize them as if you don't like them because of their religion? It seems to me that you don't. It was a lot. There's so much to unpack there. I mean, Tony DeCopel apparently has an ex-wife, a former wife, who is Israeli. I think he maybe should have disclosed that. Tony DeCopel's a nice guy. He used to be at MSNBC. He is married to my former colleague, Katie Tur, the artist formerly known as MSNBC, she is now. Nice guy, but I think he might maybe have disclosed that there was a personal connection that he has to Israel. And he took up that I played you most of the segment. Gayle King really just sort of closed the segment out. Burleson, after doing the intro, said nothing else. That was a problem for me. He's talking about apartheid, and the two African-American folk on there just don't say anything, right? Ta-Nehisi Coates is obviously brilliant, handled himself very well. It actually helped his book. The book is really, really great. But that moment was kind of wild. The book is called The Message. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. He doesn't just talk about Israel. He talks about it being his first time going to the African continent. And he also talks about the U.S. Like, he talks apartheid and Jim Crow in all of these places and the misalignment of the Black identity in all these places. But he also talks about feeling like he was in the midst of Jim Crow, in a place where, Israel can be beloved to you, but it is just a fact that when the refugees from Europe arrived in what they called their promised land, there were people there who welcomed them, and then their land was taken. And that is just a thing that happened. It's not disparaging people based on their religious identity or their ethnic identity to say that the Pilgrims in that case took the land. And then the people who were already there are being told that they need to have agency as to why they don't accept the loss of their land without fighting back. Like, it doesn't, the sort of premise of it is so offensive. And he basically called Ta-Nehisi Coates a terrorist. For that guy, Tony DeCopel, is about to be rewarded with the premium plum anchor job at CBS News. He is going to be the new anchor of CBS Nightly News. And by the way, the conflagration that happened inside of CBS News after that was that internally there was a lot of anger. There was a lot of sort of real anger at the way that interview was conducted. A lot of people felt it was not journalistically sound, the way he berated, Tony DeCoppel berated Ta-Nehisi Coates. And I just want to read you, this is a report that was published by the pro-Israel publication, The Free Press. This is how it was described. The pro-Israel, USA Today, I believe, did this story. The pro-Israel publication, The Free Press, which was founded by former New York Times writer Barry Weiss. According to them, CBS News addressed the incident during a meeting that morning. The Free Press account included leaked audio recordings that included CBS executives suggesting that the incident did not meet editorial standards after a review of our coverage. October 7, the date of the editorial meeting, is widely recognized as the one-year anniversary of the start of the Israel-Hamas war. The recordings show that after an introduction by CBS News president and CEO Wendy McMahon, the network's news gathering leader, Adrienne Rourke, said the Coates story requires empathy, respect, and a commitment to truth. Quote, we will always ask tough questions. We will still hold people accountable. That's a part of our job too, but we will do so objectively. And that means very plainly, we have to check our biases and opinions at the door. I'm reading from the story. Rourke said after reading from the CBS Employee Handbook, and that applies to every single one of us. We are not here to represent any viewpoint. We are here to tell stories. So that's what happened after that confrontation on the show. But that was not the end of the story. So now, no, I'm pitting that. Barry Weiss broke the news with the leaked audio recording from the meeting where Tony DeCoppel's performance was rebuked internally. So now reading this from Deadline, Sherry Redstone, who was the head of Paramount, which owns CBS, she took Tony DeCoppel's side from Deadline. Sherry Redstone, who again is the boss, she owns Paramount at the time. She stood firmly behind CBS anchor Tony DeCoppel for a recent interview that his network executive said did not meet editorial standards. Here's the quote from Sherry Redstone. I frankly think Tony did a great job with that interview. I think he handled himself and showed the world a role model of what civil discourse is. He showed that there was accountability, that there is a system of checks and balances. And frankly, I was very proud of the work he did. That's what she said. And she said that at an appearance at New York Advertising Week. She said that she had conveyed those thoughts directly to Tony DeCoppel. As Redstone's family company, Paramount Global, heads into a new era with Skydance, this new company they partnered with, they were selling themselves to, Redstone is focusing more on issues around anti-Semitism, something she's been involved with for years. She sat for a Q&A with Matthew Siegel, co-founder and co-CEO of ATTN, a social storytelling media company and content studio, to discuss the role that content and civics education can have in driving multicultural awareness. Well, fast forward to this year when Barry Weiss, who owned the aforementioned The Free Press, she's now in charge of CBS News editorial. She's the one who broke the audio of the meeting where Tony DeCoppel's performance was criticized. She then gets tapped after Skydance buys Paramount. Sherry Redstone sells Paramount to Skydance, which is David Ellison and his father, Larry Ellison, who are big-time Zionists, big-time supporters of Israel. They then put Barry Weiss in charge of CBS News editorial. They buy her Free Press for $100 million, put $100 million in her bank account, make her in charge of CBS News. And now she, closing the circle, is making Tony DeCoppel the new anchor of NBC Nightly News. I'm sorry, of CBS. I'm sorry, not NBC, of CBS. I'm sorry, he used to work for MSNBC, of CBS Nightly News. And they're not done. This is not done. The Ellisons, the same Ellisons who have taken over CBS News and made it a friendlier home for Donald Trump. They've made it more Trump friendly. They've made it much more Bibi and Israel friendly. Now they want to do the same thing to CNN because they are now doing a hostile takeover attempt of Warner Brothers, which owns CNN. And whereas Netflix is trying to just buy Warner Brothers and their studio assets, the movie part, and not CNN, they're saying we'll throw an extra $18 billion on and buy the whole thing. And apparently David Ellison has gone to Trump and said, we will fix CNN. We will change CNN the way they're changing CBS. Meanwhile, what's happening at CBS, they're about to, Barry Weiss, the aforementioned Barry Weiss, is about to launch a town hall with Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk. You can't make this up. She's already said that the editorial sort of sweet spot for her is Jeffrey Epstein's former attorney, Alan Dershowitz, and Dana Loesch of the NRA. That's the sweet spot for the charismatic voices that she wants on CBS News. And now she is going to team up and do a town hall with Charlie Kirk's widow, who is not a public figure in any way, but is now the head of Turning Points USA. So now we're Turning Points USAing the Tiffany Network, where Walter Cronkite used to work, where Walter Cronkite was the anchor. Norah O'Donnell has already announced she's going to step down, but now Tony Dokoupil is going to have this plum seat at the Tiffany Network. He's going to be the new anchor of NBC Nightly News, the Tiffany Network. CBS, I keep saying NBC. Why does my brain want to say NBC? CBS Nightly, of CBS Evening News. Barry Weiss is making Tony Dokoupil the new anchor of CBS Evening News. So he will have the old Dan Rather job, the Walter Cronkite job. And the Ellisons are saying they're not done. They still want to do the same thing to CNN. So that's that. A couple other things that are happening while we're doing that. The FBI is creating an extremists watch list. A watch list in which they're going to watch every single person in the United States, a watch list with a tip line, a snitch line. This is the reporting from Ken Klippenstein, who is an independent journalist, and it's on his Substack. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it. Attorney General Pam Bondi is ordering the FBI to compile a list of groups or entities engaging in acts that may constitute domestic terrorism. According to a Justice Department memo published here exclusively, the target is those expressing opposition to law and immigration enforcement, extreme views in favor of mass migration and open borders, adherence to radical gender ideology, as well as anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity. The language echoes the so-called indicators of terrorism identified by President Trump's directive called National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, or NSPM 7, which the memo says is intended to implement. It is intended to implement. Where NSPM 7 was a declaration of war on just about anyone who isn't MAGA, this is the war plan for how the government will wage it on a tactical level. In addition to compiling a list of undesirables, Bondi, the former Qatar, she used to have she was one of their clients. She was like an advisor to Qatar. She directs the FBI to enhance the capabilities and publicity of its tip line in order to more aggressively solicit tips from the American public on other Americans. To that end, Bondi, get this, according to Ken Klippenstein, is also directing the FBI to establish a cash reward system for information leading to the identification and arrest of leadership figures within these purged domestic terrorist organizations. The memo later instructs the FBI to establish cooperators to provide information and eventually testify against other members of the groups. So they want to infiltrate groups who oppose ICE raids and who are in favor of immigrants and label them as domestic terrorists, and also some vague term called anti-Americanism and anti-Christianity. So that's also happening in our beloved United States. A couple other stories here. A tourist to the United States, another story here, will have to reveal 5 years of social media activity under the new Trump plan. The proposed plan, this is per The Guardian, tourists to the United States will have to reveal their social media activity for the last 5 years. The mandatory new disclosures would apply to the 42 countries whose nationals are currently permitted to enter the U.S. without a visa, including longtime U.S. allies, Great Britain, France, Australia, Germany, and Japan. In a notice published on Tuesday, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency, CBP, said it would also require any telephone numbers used by visitors over the same period and any email addresses used in the last decade, as well as face, fingerprint, DNA, and iris biometrics. It would also ask for the names, addresses, birth dates, and birthplaces of family members, including children. CPB said the new changes to the electronic system for travel authorization application, the ESTA application, are required in order to comply with yet another executive order issued by Trump on the first day of his new term. In it, the U.S. president called for restrictions to ensure visitors to the U.S. do not bear hostile attitudes towards its citizens, culture, government, institutions, or founding principles. Cannot wait for the World Cup. People are supposed to come from all over the world to watch the World Cup. And Donald Trump is essentially saying, we're going to vet you to, and you know what that means, to make sure you don't have anti-Trump stuff on your social media. Because if you don't like Trump and you don't like MAGA, they don't even want you to be able to visit here. Speaking of migration, J.D. Vance, this is C2. Jason, let me know when you have it. He has called mass migration, which they're now saying it being in favor of mass migration, whatever mass migration means. He said that is theft. That having mass migration in the country is actually theft against the American people. And he reposted a construction worker who said now that the immigrants aren't showing up for work and they're too scared because of ICE raids, he's never had more work. Okay. His post was immediately hazed, completely hazed by people who posted J.D. Vance's Indian in-laws and family members on Usha's side and said, oh, it's theft? Well, here's J.D. Vance doing theft. Here's J.D. Vance doing theft against the American people because his in-laws are from India. So he just got completely hazed. But not to be outdone, let's listen to Donald Trump. This is C4 saying, what we need in America is more Europeans. Here he is. T4, where he says, give us more Europeans. Give us your tired, your poor, and your Europeans.
From shithole countries, right? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime.
He said, give us Europeans. I mean, you can't get more white nationalists than that. But if you want Europeans, does that mean all Europeans? Because I want to play a very particular European who attempted this week to pretend to have Christmas spirit. We do remember her previously saying, why do I have to do the fucking Christmas? Why do I have to do the fucking Christmas? Well, apparently now she's going to do the fucking Christmas. Let's play Melania trying to read a book to children.
Can Santa see in the dark? Does he wear night vision goggles that make everything green? I bet he'd like that because Santa likes green. Or heat vision goggles because he might like red better. Should we leave out carrots, not cookies, on Christmas Eve, since they're good for his eyesight? No, the twinkling lights on the tree will make enough light for Santa to see, tiptoeing past chairs without bumping his knee, to leave a present or two or three and get a kiss from the dog, if it's a dog that licks, and take a cookie or two or three and then leave. Santa goes up the chimney the same way he comes down, and I have no idea how Santa does that. But
first of all, it's the little girl in the white looking around like, Mom and Dad, why you brought me off here with this lady? What is she talking about? I can read better than that. Why? Mama. And the little boy is looking at her like, you want me to read that for you? What is happening? So you saw the panoply, the range of humanity that the Trumps accept as acceptable in the United States. They had a white Santa and Mrs. Claus. And they had an all-white panoply of humans enjoying Christmas, which Melania Trump can't stand, but she's doing it anyway. I think maybe she could use another $40 million Medal of Freedom from Jeff Bezos. He already gave her the $40 million. So yeah, so there it is. Those are the people who get to come. Melania and her peeps. Welcome in the United States, but not the countries with the blacks. Last thing I'm going to do in this segment before we move on to our next segment is Donald Trump. He's so European. He's so fully European now. He's so fully Russian, European. He's literally saying, I want to rename soccer now. He's on board. And I don't know if MAGA is aware of this. Donald Trump has gotten on board with the idea that the United States should not be the only country in the world that calls football, which the whole world calls football, soccer. He's now said, why is it called soccer and not football? I mean, it doesn't really make any sense. Everybody else calls it. He's agreeing with the rest of FIFA that it should be football. So MAGA, America First, now means Donald Trump will join the rest of the world in renaming American football the thing that everyone else call. Well, they're going to have to similar name for American football. I don't know what they're going to call American football. If we rename soccer back to football like the rest of the world, joining the rest of the world, it's the one way that he wants to be a multinational player. But American football is going to need a new name because Donald Trump says it can't be football anymore. All right, let's move on. I think we've had enough of them for one day. The state of Kentucky is a place where there's been a lot of challenges, obviously. Not least of which is affordability, like everywhere else, but also bad leadership. The United States Senate there has been a dumpster fire of spoiled opportunity, wasted opportunity. Mitch McConnell, the most powerful, I would say, Senate leader in a generation other than Harry Reid. The two of them vie for the most powerful and effective Senate leaders in history. But the difference is Harry Reid would actually deliver for Nevada. Like he would try to bring home things to make Nevada less poor. Not Mitch McConnell. No, he's pretty much like, I don't care if my state is poor. Me and my wife are rich. F the rest of y'all. And when he came up for re-election many moons ago, he won re-election despite the fact that he was one of the most unpopular politicians in the entire country. But he still won re-election. Amy McGrath is the woman who ran against him the first time. She is running again. But she will now face in her primary the very same opponent that she had last time. And we're going to play E1, which is his video, if we could.
It's unrealistic. We can't raise the wages. Big businesses, big corporations are too powerful. We wouldn't even have a 40-hour week if we didn't fight for it. How do you respond to the idea that big changes are unrealistic? It's always unrealistic until it happens. And when I talk about policies like Medicare for all, people will say, oh, it's unrealistic. How can you make sure that everyone has high quality health care? Well, we wouldn't have Medicare if we didn't fight for it. When I say that everyone should have a living wage, that if you work 40 hours a week, you should be able to take care of your family. You should be able to breathe. You should not have to struggle and determine whether you're going to eat food or pay the rent. When I say that, and people say, oh, it's unrealistic, we can't raise the wages, big businesses, big corporations are too powerful. We wouldn't even have a 40-hour week if we didn't fight for it. I want you to know, whoever asked that question, it's only impossible to those who don't want to see it happen. Where I'm from, our faith moves mountains. I believe we can make something that is unrealistic become the norm.
And Charles Booker joins me now. Hey, Charles.
Hey, Joy. It's good to see you. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate that. Look, this is my Nothing is Impossible night on the Joy Reid Show. We had Jasmine Crockett on earlier, who everybody's like, yeah, no, there's no way she's going to win in Texas. A lot has been said about Kentucky the same way. It is a state that, you know, has a history of re-electing Mitch McConnell, despite the fact that I can't think of what he delivered for y'all in terms of, I mean, this is the most powerful man in the country, in the United States Senate. And all you ever heard about was him bringing in, you know, Russian money to oligarchs in your state. And I never saw what he did otherwise, but yet he seemed to be unstoppable. He's now retiring, finally, because his body is given out on him. It's an open seat. You didn't win the primary when you ran against McGrath last time. How do you do it this time?
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be here. I thank God for the opportunity to tell this story because there is a movement growing
not only in Kentucky, but across the country, of regular people who are fed up and understand that change won't happen unless we do it. And in 2020, we took on, at that time, one of the most well-funded Senate campaigns in history. And of course, big money is ballooning campaigns year after year, but taking on the Democratic establishment and shocking the world with the power of community. We didn't have a lot of money. Chuck Schumer was working against us at the time. And we showed what can happen when regular people from the hood to the holler stand together. And this time, we're building on that progress because people are organizing, even when the government is selling us out of necessity, out of survival, but also understanding that Donald Trump is screwing us over. He is stepping on us and kicking us off the cliff. And it's not enough to just call him out. We need leaders who will fight for us, fight to end poverty, to stand up for humanity. And that's why I'm leading in the polls already. And I'm asking everyone to join us in this movement. Let's win a race that a lot of people have counted out because we need to win everywhere. And go to charlesbooker.org and help us do it.
See, a professional campaigner always makes you get that website in. So you guys make sure you write that down. We're going to put it in the description of the show as well. But, to me, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing, and doing it the same way. The Democratic Party, they tried Amy McGrath, nothing against her. She's probably a really nice lady, but she got mopped. It's like, it wasn't like close. Like, and I've been saying a lot of the time that people tend to think that Southern states are deeply redder than they are. A lot of times they're a lot closer. When SB ran in Mississippi, it was like a 3-point race. When Beto ran in Texas, it was less than a 2-point race. Even when, Mitch McConnell, Ted Cruz ran again, it was still fairly close. In this case, it was 57.8 to 38.2. It wasn't even close. She didn't even get close. So in your mind, what did she not do in order to get closer to a very unpopular Mitch McConnell at the time? And what could you do differently?
Well, I'll say this with complete respect for her career of service. Anyone that offers himself up to protect our country should be protected and certainly have health care and be looked after when they come home. So I honor her service. But the issue was that we are tired of status quo politicians who don't understand us, who don't come from the struggle, who don't see us, who talk at us like we are on a piece of paper. We're tired of the BS. And that's why organized labor has stood with me, even in the face of this big money candidate. This is why grassroots organizations are standing with me. And as you mentioned, in her campaign, they lost terribly because the people weren't there. If you run a campaign that doesn't see community, doesn't lean into community in a place where people have already given up, we are a commonwealth of survivors. A lot of people don't engage the political process because they're like, everyone's screwing us. And so if you just keep doing the same thing, like you said, the definition of insanity. The other side of that, which is also insane, is giving up. We always do that as well. And this campaign is a testament to the resilience of the movement, that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it does bend, and we are bending it. And even in 22, when I became the first Black Kentuckian to be a nominee for U.S. Senate, we didn't have support from the party, but we still outperformed many races over the last decades because we leaned into community. So this time around, I'm the front runner from the start, even though Chuck Schumer's old candidate is in the race. We have organized groups all over the Commonwealth building infrastructure because of the progress we've made. And that's why we're going to win this race. It is the power of humanity. We are resilient. We are fed up. You look at those No Kings rallies and protests, people finding their voices that had never stepped out before. That's what this moment requires. And we are honoring that in this campaign.
I feel like one of the candidates, one of the families, I would say, Southern families that's really kind of shown the world what's possible are the Bashirs. The Bashir's father and son brought healthcare to Kentucky when people were like, they are never going to take that. That's Obamacare. But they figured out a way to do it and defend it and are popular because of it. That model, I think, is smart. How do you use some of that momentum to just show people, look, a Democrat can win statewide in these Southern states?
That's absolutely right. And, the last couple of years, I've actually been working in Governor Beshear's administration, helping to engage grassroots organizations and the faith community to meet needs on the ground. And one of the things that is powerful is, regardless of party, when you show up for people, treat them like they matter, let them know you care for them, you'll find a coalition. And the governor is showing that. I'm proud of the work that he is doing. I'm proud to have done it with him. And this campaign is a testament to that. This is not about party. Because like I said, if you a lifelong Democrat here, a lifelong Republican, we've all been getting screwed. This is about regular people saying we want poverty to end. We don't want politicians selling us out, padding their pockets, turning billionaires into trillionaires while people are homeless in the streets. And we need a vision, a Kentucky New Deal that will make sure that we have a future that our children can thrive in.
What are your, well, first of all, is Governor Beshear, is he endorsing you?
Well, now that it is a full primary, which I'm excited to see democracy at work, I know the governor is surveying. I've been in close communication with him, and I know his team is excited to see us step up in this way and build on the story that he's telling. So I'm certainly hoping that we can get folks off the sidelines.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I'm excited to see is regular people stepping up. I've had folks reaching out to me since we've launched saying, hey, I voted for Trump, but I'm working with you this time. Folks that said I had a Trump sign, but I still had a Booker sign and I'm putting it back in my yard. So I know that this unique, perfect storm of a moment where things are so crazy and catastrophic that everyone's desperate for change, we're going to see it result in a historic win in Kentucky.
What are the three things you hear the most from people when you're out campaigning that they need?
Folks need to be able to afford to live. Rent is too damn high. It's tough to be able to keep the medicine in the refrigerator. Utilities are crushing folks, and seeing jobs leave communities and never come back. And then just not feeling safe, not feeling like the future is bright. We're seeing ICE run through our Commonwealth as well. The news doesn't cover it, but these small family farms, people who have been working hard in our Commonwealth are being crushed. And then the economy is suffering because of Donald Trump. He is robbing us blind. And our small family farms, our small businesses, our grassroots organizations are suffering. And I'm hearing from the people of Kentucky that they're saying, let's not do the same thing. We know what the Democratic establishment may think is possible here, but we know that change is possible. And I'm proud that folks were saying, hey, Charles, make this run again. This is like Rocky III for us. Or the scene in Avengers where Black Panther came back, everyone came back. Regular people are coming together to take a stand, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
You, one of the things that I do respect, I respect everything about what you do because you're so authentic, but you don't back down off of the things that people would say won't poll well with the establishment of the party. You're like, yeah, Medicare for all, I'm for that. and there's a lot of pushback, where people back off of it. Why have you doubled down on that? And what's the feedback you're getting on the ground?
Well, it's easy for me. One, this is about survival. I support Medicare for all because I personally know what it feels like to have to choose between my insulin as a type 1 diabetic or feeding my daughters. And going across Kentucky and seeing the challenges that people face, these policies are just about us living a better life, not the buzzwords, not the national narratives. And so when I say I support universal basic income, folks light up and say, thankfully, someone finally realizes we should invest in regular people instead of all these big corporations. So the conversation about affordability is not new to us. We've been screaming out, hey, we're struggling here. Hey, politicians, do you care about us at all? And of course, Mitch McConnell's response was, hell no. He could not care whether we live or die. And he's been in office my entire life. He was elected when I was 2 weeks old. And so this is the perfect way to send him packing, to replace him with someone that will stand up for human rights, stand up for progressive values, and stand up for the people of Kentucky.
You came to a lot of people's attention, in the Breonna Taylor case, in which it was two Black men who were prominent in that moment. And one of them was the state's attorney general, who cleared the way for her killers to be set free, saying they really didn't commit a crime at all, except shooting into the wall of one white neighbor. Like it's a really strange kind of permutation of the idea of justice. Is the issue of police violence, is it still as salient now? Or do you think we made progress in that area? Or do you think there's something that we could do from a public policy point of view in the United States Senate?
Well, in a lot of ways, the issue not only has not been tended to, the issue of justice, accountability, and humanity, but morale has been waning. We've been hurting. People have still been marching and organizing. Bree Way is still alive here in Kentucky, but seeing politicians turn their back over and over again, it's exhausting, it's dehumanizing, and that's why this campaign is a spark of hope. You mentioned Daniel Cameron. He is on the Republican side in this Senate campaign. So there are two black men leading in the polls on the Democratic and Republican side. And for me to stand up for humanity, stand up for Breonna Taylor's life and everyone's ability to be free and to be safe, and look on the other side of the ledger, there's someone who is essentially said Breonna Taylor's murder was justified. I'm telling you, keep your eyes on this race, because we do need leadership in the Senate that will fight for justice, fight for accountability. I saw my colleague, my friend, Morgan McGarvey, Congressman for the 3rd District, reintroducing Breonna's law, legislation to ban no-knock warrants. So clearly the work is still before us. We need a coalition that's going to help see it through, and I will.
It's giving Herschel Walker Warnock, and I'm here for it. Charles Booker, give your website. Let people know how they can support you.
Go to charlesbooker.org. Please sign up and join us, support us. I'm not taking corporate PAC money. I'm not accepting money from groups like AIPAC. This is in tribute to community, the power of family, and I'm asking for your help. Go to Charles Booker.
Thank you. You reminded me, because I always try to get that question in. Good. No money from AIPAC. And I assume you're in favor of raising the federal minimum wage, because I mean, somebody in the chat they're putting in a couple times federal minimum wage hasn't been raised in decades and decades and decades.
Absolutely. The way we calculate it is outdated. But one of the policies I'm leading with is 40 for 40, and essentially saying that if you work a full-time job, you should be guaranteed a minimum salary of $40,000 a year as a floor. And we know that even that needs to be built on. It's way overdue. People are struggling to survive, and I'm absolutely fighting for that.
Survival is, I think, the issue of 2026 and maybe even 2028, because the rent is too damn high. I gotta find the guy who did that "the rent is too damn high" party in New York. He had the handlebar mustache. That dude was classic. He was an icon, and I need to find him and bring him. Hopefully he's still around. Charles Booker, my friend, thank you very much. Come back often. Keep us posted. When is the primary? When is the actual date?
So the primary is coming up in May. We got a window of time here to build. Need help right now. Thank you for your support.
Please support Charles Booker's campaign. Go to his website. We're going to put the link in the description here as well. And we're gonna coax Charles to come back often during the campaign, so we can keep reminding us of our assignment. Thank you very much, my friend.
Always.
Thank you very much. All right, you guys, since it's holiday time, our moment of joy, I think, is quite appropriate. We played Melania Trump attempting to read a children's Christmas book to the children, which, for whether she was reluctant or not, she did it. But you cannot, in this holiday season, beat Obama Claus. And here is our moment of joy.
Oh, who's that? Who's that good-looking guy?
He came in the room and their eyes just lit up like stars.
You guys like reading?
Yep.
Come on, everybody, let's just pilot. Are you guys all trying to be good for Christmas? You're on the nice list? Flying free, how Bessie Coleman's dream took flight. Bessie said, "Oh yeah, you just wait and see. There'll be a black female pilot, and it will be me." So look at her. She's flying a plane, and she climbed on top of the plane. Would you do that? No. I wouldn't do that. I'd be too scared. You butt your head. That's what would happen.
He asked them about what they like to be when they became adults.
What do you want to do?
Be a police.
A police officer. How about you?
Be a doctor.
Be a doctor. That would be excellent.
I want to be like you.
Well, you know what? Right now, all I am is old. Obama's top reads right here.
It shows that he's coming back home and that he's engaging with the children. He wants to see them succeed.
All right, everybody say cheese. Cheese. Say Santa. Santa. There you go. Merry Christmas.
Oh my God. Don't y'all miss having a decent, kind, nice guy president, a president that has a heart and that has a brain that's fully functioning and that cares about human beings? Don't y'all miss that? Even when I disagreed with Barack Obama, I didn't agree with everything he did. I didn't agree with everything he did. Not at all. Some of his compromises, I didn't agree. But he's a decent man. He's a good person that actually gives a damn about this country, who actually believes in the Constitution. Don't y'all miss that? I play it. It's almost a moment of joy, but almost a moment of, oh man, we went and switched from that to the madman screaming everybody's stupid and flipping out on journalists and crashing out because he thinks he's a king and he doesn't think anyone should question him. Wow, we really downgraded, y'all. America downgraded. We got to upgrade again. In 2028, we need to upgrade. This is embarrassing. But yes, Barack Obama, aka Obama Claus, is our moment of joy. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget, Friday after the show, we are going to do a members only chat. If you're not yet a member, this might be a good time to do it before Friday. It's going to be members only, and that is going to be for the readers who are members over at Substack and the Team TJRS members here. We had some lovely folks giving gifts of memberships tonight. I want to thank you all for doing that. That was pretty great. So thank you all for giving gifts. I want to thank, let me go through here. Lutrice Black, who's a new member. Subtext and Side Eye is a new member. Black Girl Talk, also a new member. We got lots of hellos here. We've got a new member. A Taylor, is it A Taylor? 906 is a new member. Bunny Kunbi, new member. Nubian Queen 6391 gifted 5 new The Joy Reid Show memberships. 5 new people who get to join our members only chat. Thanks to Nubian Queen 6391. Thank you, Nikki Marks, for the $2 in the tiller. The New Orleans gal, $2 in the tiller. We've got SASANP, who's been a member for 2 months, who says the town hall is another grift. It's another grift, absolutely. Stick to independent media, read news. It says, thank you, Joy, for all that you are doing. Thank you very much. Also, new member, Christina Huckabee 3344. Thank you very much for joining. Welcome. Christine Huckabee 3344 also gifted 5 new memberships. And thank you for doing that and sharing the love. And also having the time of my life, 2008. And that was a time to have the time of your life, because that's when Obama was elected. Also a new member. Thank you all to our new members. Appreciate you all for joining. And we will see you. Don't forget to tag us, tag me, tag the show if you post yourself with merch so we can put your beautiful faces and visages on the show. Thank you all for watching. See you on the next The Joy Reid Show. Like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe, and share. Bye.